Hello, my name is Mike K. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be reviewing Seeking Sister Wives Season 4 Episode 1. And I decided to review this because I think it's a pretty interesting show. And I will upload the unexpected video. It just will be a day late. I wanted to try this out. And then plus I also live and breathe unexpected. So I just kind of wanted a break, especially from the tell-all. And another thing before I get into the video, I may come across as I hate polygamy or I'm judging it. I mean, I am in a sense because I think it's very odd. And I'm not too sure what the benefit is for the woman exactly, but I don't want to come off as I'm being biased. This is just my opinion, so if you disagree with it, that is okay. So let's get into the video. We get introduced to April, Nick, and Jennifer, who are from Aurora, Colorado. Nick has been interested in a polygamous relationship for about 15 years now, and his wife April says that he has a lot to handle, meaning in all terms, which she also said sexually, which I think that was kind of odd to see on TV, but whatever. April has been with Nick for about 14 years. She met him in college, and she says at first she really didn't know what polygamy was. She knew that the man she loved wanted it, so she played along. Then we get introduced to Jennifer. Jennifer is 24, and I knew she looked super young at first. I knew something was off because she really didn't talk much, and then like I said, she looked really young. That she always just kind of looked at Nick for confirmation, I guess you can call it. I had a feeling that she was going to be young. And her and Nick have been together about 4 to 5 years, meaning that she got with Nick when she was either 19 or 20, which is honestly disgusting because I don't know how old Nick is, but I definitely think he's in his 40s or close to 40. And she got introduced to Nick by April because Jennifer and April had worked together, and April felt like Nick and Jennifer would get along great, so she decided to introduce them to each other. When Jennifer and Nick first met, Jennifer says he made her feel beautiful and just like she was the most important person in the world. And I have a feeling that's probably not true, and she probably just has really low self-esteem and the standards are very low. I know that's kind of hard to say on the first episode, but I've seen it play out on TV thousands of times, so I feel like I know what's about to come. Then April recruited her like a cult type of thing. Like, you know how people recruit other people to get in cults? This is definitely what this is giving off. She says this is 100% what she wants, which is kind of crazy for me to think about because you got into this when you were either 19 or 20, and I feel like at 19 and 20 you don't completely know what you want. I mean, who am I to tell her what she wants in life and what she doesn't? But I definitely feel like at 19 and 20 there's a certain naiveness that you have that you haven't outgrown yet. I feel like it would be a lot better if the person she was with was more around her age, but he isn't. He practically be her father, so that's what just makes it even worse in my opinion. So like Jennifer talks about how her and April are married since they couldn't get married to Nick. So I guess April and Nick aren't married, and I'm not sure why they aren't married to each other. I guess he's like saving his legal marital commitment for the next wife. I'm not 100% sure why Nick and April aren't married. But anyways, Nick and April said this really showed that Jennifer was really committed to them and she just wasn't gonna flake, I guess. Then April goes on to talk about how a lot of family has blocked her on social media and has stopped talking to her because she has chose to live a polygamous lifestyle. She says it's what makes her happy and it's their lost. I guess so, but if I knew y'all were grooming a 19, 20-year-old, I would block y'all on social media too. But maybe that's not her family's issue, but that's my personal issue with it. But anyway, still in the confession, they talk about how they all share a bed together and they don't have a set schedule for sex. They just do it when each other feel like it. But when someone wants to have sex with the other person, one person is always on the other side of the house. So Nick can have his one-on-one time with whatever one of the wives he is spending his time with. Then we go to a scene where they're all cooking and eating dinner, and April has a son named William who has been in Nick's life for 14 years and ever since he was 6 months old. They've never had to explain polygamy to him because it's just something that's always been normal in his life. He's also just been exposed to diversity from people having monogamous relationship, having a mom and dad, from kids living with their grandparents. So there's nothing that he technically hasn't seen that's just gonna put him in a shock or something that they would have to explain to him. And while they're in the kitchen eating dinner, they talk about how they have to go to a parent-teacher conference and all 3 of them are gonna go, and this is at his new school. I do not know how I feel about this because I definitely think it's important to not hide your lifestyle from other people. But for all three of them in the show, I just don't know how I exactly feel about that. But this is not my child, so I really do not have that much of an opinion nor say so. And I also wonder if William's biological dad is in his life or if he's just kind of out of the picture. Nick is a so-called stay-at-home dad. April and Jennifer go out and work, and April says she couldn't see herself just staying at home all day doing nothing. And Nick likes being a trophy husband, they say. So if I'm correct, the woman cook, clean, and work. And they also say that Nick is very smart. He likes to research stuff and he's very interested in stuff like that. And that's what he does when they're at work. So you're telling me he just sits at home all day and looks up stuff on the internet while y'all go to work and cook and clean when y'all come home? Okay, this is kind of odd because it's technically like he's just a child on summer break, but he's on summer break all around the year. So like, what exactly does he bring to the table other than sex, to be honest? Like, I really just do not get it. And going to a scene where all of them are in the kitchen, all of the adults are talking about their dynamic, and Jennifer specifically talks about how the dynamic has helped her grow and learn and become into the woman who she is today. That's because you're being groomed, or you were being groomed. I don't mean to like push this narrative, but in my opinion, she was groomed. Because if y'all started dating her when she was 19, I'm not sure whether she was 19 or just turned 19, but it doesn't matter. It was still wrong, and she's too young for y'all, and it's just disgusting. She did not know who she was when she was 19. I mean, a lot of people don't. Maybe she did, but I don't think she did. So now she has just picked up on habits that are around her, and she thinks that has helped her become to the woman she is today. What is true, but I don't know if it's for the better. I'm not trying to attack Jennifer or really any of them. This is just from my perspective, so if you do not agree with it, it is okay. Anyways, April starts to get teary-eyed, so they all learn from each other, and specifically from Jennifer. She says that Jennifer's like a mirror for her, and I'm not sure what she exactly meant by that, saying that it's a mirror for who she currently is, or if it's a mirror for who April was when she was younger. Because I feel like that's what I got from it, that April sees a lot of her younger self in Jennifer, and that's why she feels the way she does. Maybe I'm speculating too much, but that's definitely what I got from it. But next we go on to Danielle and Garrick from Buena Vista, Colorado, I believe how you pronounce it. They were on the last season of Sister Wives, and they were interested in adding a second wife, and the second wife's name was Roberta. She's from Brazil. She cannot speak English, so they were having to travel back and forth between countries to see her and use a translator on the phone. Danielle got on board for Garrett's sake, but she got very jealous of Roberta and Garrick and how they were spending lots of time together, and just in general of the whole relationship. She was trying to play like a team player. We also have not seen Roberta in over a year because her mom is dealing with health problems, and she has been approved for the visa, but like I said, she's not coming over because of her mom's health problems, nor does she want to travel. Danielle and Garrett have two kids that are 13 and 12, and they are boys. I have no idea how to pronounce their names, so they're just teenage boys. That's what we're going to call them. And they're okay with the polygamous relationship. It really doesn't bother them. From their perspective, they just get more Christmas presents, and that's definitely a good perspective to look at it from. If I was them, I probably would have dreaded it, but you know, also, I'm not the one who has to deal with it, so it does not matter how I feel. Danielle and Garrett have been polygamous for 4 years. They've been together in total for 15 years, monogamous, and they say God wanted them to be polygamy, and it's meant to be, and they're just gonna go along with the whole thing, even though I really do think it's just Garrett manipulating Danielle with the Bible, but okay. And Garrett's family disowned him, and they say they'd rather him be gay or to have a whore rather than being polygamist. Even though being gay isn't a bad thing, but I think Garrett's family is very religious. That's besides the point. They kicked Garrett and Danielle off their property, and I think that's how they end up living in the RV, because they were living on Garrett's family's property and they disagree with their life choices, so they kicked them off, and that's why they're living in the RV now. Because they really didn't explain why they were living in the RV, so I guess that's the reason why. They're glad Roberta isn't here yet, because it definitely would have been more cramped with a fifth person. Like I said earlier, Danielle and Garrett have not seen Roberta in over a year, but she has been approved for her fiancé visa. And for Roberta to get that fiance visa, Danielle and Garrett had to legally get a divorce. Says last year she was very jealous, but she's been a fast year working through her jealousy and she has worked past that. I don't think Danielle ever wanted a polygamous relationship. I think she only wanted it to keep Garrett around or to keep him happy. I don't know what has happened before the cameras got here, but it looks like their marriage was falling apart before the cameras came around, and polygamy was the way to fix it and for them to reunite. While Danielle is in the kitchen cooking, they bring up how they're ready for Roberta to get here, especially since they can start baby making. That's what they called it. I don't know, the word baby making just makes me cringe. Well, it's really 2 words. And they said that in front of their kids, which I thought that was kind of weird because they're old enough. I'm pretty sure they know what sex is, but it's like, I don't know, it's just an odd conversation to have in front of your kids, I think. What's the even weirder part is Danielle brought it up. Why is she so eager so Roberta and Garrett can have a baby? I don't get it. But then she asks one of her sons, what would you want, a boy or a girl? And one of the sons says a boy. But anyways, they talk about building a house because Garrett owns a custom home building company, and they also are getting Danielle's parents a little apartment built right next to them so they can take care of them more and see them more often since they're getting older, and so they can make sure they have enough room for Roberta. And I don't know whether she's gonna have her own room in the house with the baby or what's gonna be the situation with that, because I know in some polygamous families they all sleep in the same bed, but in others they live in different rooms or even different houses sometimes. So I'm not 100% sure what the setup is gonna be. Then they bring up how they're adding a 3rd wife, and Danielle came up with the idea saying God is the one who said they needed a 3rd wife. I need them to stop blaming stuff on God, because I know God did not say any of that. Then going to the confessional, they talk about how adding a 3rd wife is going to be a challenge, but Danielle doesn't think she's going to get jealous at all this time. She wants to add a 3rd wife so someone can be there to support her and vice versa, which it sounds like she just needs a friend, to be completely honest. And I guess she thought it would make Garrett happy because he wants lots of, we saw that in the preview for the show, he wanted like 6 different wives, so it's definitely a benefit from her perspective because everyone can be made happy. That's looking at it from the best perspective possible, but from my honest opinion, I think she only wants to add a 3rd wife to get back at Roberta for making her feel for how she felt when they were on the trip, even though that was Garrett's fault and not Roberta's fault in my opinion. I think that's the real reason why she wants to add a 3rd wife. Then they talk about their new sister wife, Leah. She is a nurse who lives in California. She also has a son close around to their age. She's very bold and a go-getter person. She has been in a polygamous relationship before, but it just didn't work out for her. She was very young and she's hoping things work out this time. They're going to travel to California to see her, and they're going to see where it goes. And they know that Roberta's going to get very jealous. And this is why I say Danielle did this purely out of spite. I do not think she did this with the intent of God or anything like that. This is just out of spite to get back at Roberta. Next, we move on to Brenda and Steve from Eastern Texas. Steve is 22 and has been married to Brenda, his high school sweetheart, for 12 years. And they have 2 kids together. And he's never thought about polygamy outside of a religious reason because he grew up around the ODS, which is a polygamous group in Utah. That's a cult. They marry young girls. It's like a whole bunch of other stuff that I really just cannot get into in this video. But it's just not the best perspective of polygamy. But fast forward to today, they are looking for their 2nd wife. Then we go to a confessional with Brenda, who is 38, and she says polygamy is a man who has more than 1 wife. And Steve says there are a lot of people that see polygamy as glorified cheating, and he says it just shows they're ignorant, which I guess I'm ignorant because, like I said, I don't see the benefit for the women, to be completely honest. If you see the benefit, could you please explain it, because I'm really lost on what the real benefit is. But going back to the scene, they get on this boat, and he said he met Gloria 8 years ago, but earlier he said he met her 12 years ago, and they've been married for 12 years or they met each other 12 years ago. How did you meet each other 8 years ago but you've been married for 12? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe I misheard it. But anyways, Brenda talks about how she met Steve and his ex-wife at the same time. She thought they were just a really friendly couple and they decided to meet again and hang out. And it turned into something more than just friends. And Steve used this analogy, I think you call it. Imagine having a strawberry shortcake. You already love strawberry shortcake, so imagine having it with whipped cream. It makes it a lot better. Saying that adding Brenda into the relationship made the relationship a lot better. So basically he was in a relationship with his ex-wife and his current wife at the same time. But as the years went on, the marriage between the three of them fell apart, and the ex-wife decided that she no longer wanted this and she removed herself from the situation. But now they are talking to a 21-year-old girl named April who is half of Steve's. That is disgusting. I have no idea what it is this season with these weird age gaps. Steve and Brenda could quite literally be her parents, but they say it's easy to be around her, probably because it's easy to manipulate her. I know I don't want to make it seem like she's not an adult and she can't make her own decisions, but with a big age gap like that, there's no way where like there isn't some type of manipulation or some level of naiveness on the other person's end, especially in a polygamous relationship, which I am not saying there's anything wrong with a polygamous relationship at all. They go to the confessional with April. They ask how she feels about Steve, and she kind of just gets really giggly and bubbly, and I guess she has really good feelings about Steve. And what attracted Steve to her was that she did not ask a lot of questions about polygamy, and that was nice to not do that for once, because I guess a lot of people do not know what it is, and he just hates having to explain it over and over again. So it's very nice to know that she already knew what it was and there just wasn't a bunch of questions, even though I felt like there should be questions when it comes to a polygamous relationship, because like I said earlier, every polygamous relationship is something different for other people, so I feel like questions should have been asked in my opinion. But once they all get on the boat, they talk about how they really don't butt heads a lot. Brenda feels like she doesn't have a close relationship with April, and she feels like they need to work on their communication, which I'm not sure exactly what relationship they're exactly supposed to have, so I don't know what she meant by that. And Brenda is also worried about Steve becoming unattractive to her one day, since April is so young and there's a 17-age year difference between the two. She's worried that Steve just may throw her to the wolves one day. And I'm not going to say it will happen, but I feel like it can happen, because I feel like that's what a lot of these situations are. They go for younger girls, and then once they get older, they throw them away and they look for even younger girls. That is just my opinion. Next, move on to Nick, Jennifer, and April. And Jennifer and April are sitting on the couch drinking a glass of wine, and Nick is getting ready to go on a date with a potential third sister wife who Danielle has recruited. She is 22 years old, and this is what I mean by these weird age gaps. Like, why are they so young? Say that she has an old soul and you wouldn't know she's 22 by talking to her. It's very much giving grooming, but okay. Then the producer asked do they have any rules for intimacy, because there's a lot of polygamous relationships that do, but Nick, April, and Jennifer do not have any rules. Nick isn't one to jump quick into wanting to have a sexual relationship, and he's not necessarily looking for that. So I guess that's why they don't have heavy rules on it, because he has boundaries with himself. Then going to the scene, Nick gets ready to go on a date with Danielle. Not Danielle who's with Garrick, her name is Danielle, who's the new potential sister wife. Danielle met Nick through April, one of his wives, which it's kind of like recruitment, and it makes it feel more like a cult than a relationship. I was already kind of getting those vibes, but now it just kind of confirmed it for myself. She recruits the girls, she brings them to him, and then if he doesn't necessarily vibe with him, he sends them off, but if he does, he continues to form a relationship with them. Goes on his date with Danielle, and they talk about how if Danielle is really committed to this or not. Then they go to confessional with April, Jennifer, and Nick, and they talk about how they don't want her to outgrow it. I don't know whether it's because she's 22 or a lot of people tend to outgrow polygamy, but I'm going to take a guess at the fact that she's 22. But they just want to make sure that she's in it for the long run. But last, we move on to Danielle and Garrett. So they're going to California to meet the potential sister wife Leah, and Garrett is not sure how tall she is because he does not like anyone taller than him, but when we meet her, they're around the same height. But they're also traveling down to California because it's their anniversary. I don't know whether it's their anniversary for polygamy or their anniversary for the monogamous relationship that they had. Either way, they're using that as an excuse to stay a little longer. And Roberta was jealous and insecure, but they feel like life goes on, and if there is a potential sister wife, they should take the opportunity up on it, especially since Roberta does know that Garrett does want more than just 2 wives. When they finally get to the airport to meet Leah, Danielle is very excited and she runs up and hugs her. Leah is 30 and is glad to know that they're dating someone around their age and not someone significantly younger. It was nice to see. But anyways, they go to an in-person confession with Leah and they say that Garrett makes her feel really good about herself and just really happy. She was even nervous talking about him. Leah grew up in a polygamous family, so this is normal to her. She was in a polygamous relationship, but it did not work out for her, so she decided to put herself out there finally again, and she can't see herself in a monogamous relationship. And when they get in the car, Danielle brings up how they should call Roberta, and Roberta and Leah do not have a good relationship because Roberta is very insecure and jealous. That's what Danielle said, and both of them are hoping it goes well. And I believe that was Danielle instigating. Leah even rolled her eyes at the idea of recalling Roberta. This is why I believe Danielle is doing this purely to spite Roberta. I don't know why, because I feel like Garrett is the problem, but she just wants her marriage to work out so bad she'll blame everyone else but him.